and welcome to the Cheer Up Podcast. I'm Kara Hunt, your host, and with me is the beautiful and talented Cheri Swalwell. How are you, Cheri, on this Thanksgiving Eve? Are you having Thanksgiving at your house?
Well, it is definitely a different year this year. So I'm not going to focus so much on this year as I am going to focus on years past. But yes, it is definitely busy. Definitely busy.
Yeah.
Aren't all Thanksgiving Eves incredibly busy in one way or another?
Yes, it is, and I don't know, when I think of I just think it's so God awesome that Thanksgiving, that we as Americans celebrate Thanksgiving so close to Christmas and so close to New Year's. You know what I'm saying? Because I just think that is just so awesome, because one, actually they flow into the other so well, right?
Yes.
Thankfulness, blessings, a new start. They just seem to just all flow together so well, and I know people go, oh, the holidays, and everything else, because that's kind of how, we as Americans kind of refer to, like those three all together. But I like to think of them as holy days, right? Which, by the way, and nobody quote me on this, but I think that's what they started. Well, not Thanksgiving per se, but I think that's what the term holidays started from, right? Wasn't it like originally holy days?
I don't know, but I sure love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
and again, listeners, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that was the original, like that's how they kind of got their name. And then, of course, and I think back then, right, that it was truly for the holy days, where we would set aside certain days to, as holy because of, what those days represented. But I think as time passed and more days kind of got to be added that weren't necessarily, like for instance, just a day like, just let me think of a bland holiday that we celebrate. Just any other holiday, right? So, but as they became to, be honored, and everything else, I think it just became like, holidays, and incorporated all of them. So, but I could be wrong. Okay, so, but it's in my personal view, in my my Christian journey, I like to think of Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year all together, as like that holy days, that like section of the year, where we're thankful, where we focus on our blessings, and where we're ready to start a new journey with Christ. So, do you loop them all together that way, Cheri, as well?
Well, I have to say, in years past, I used to, I'm so ashamed to even admit this, but I hated Thanksgiving. I absolutely hated Thanksgiving. It was my least favorite holiday of them all. But the closer that I've gotten to God and the closer my relationship with Him has been, it hasn't been a day. I love to celebrate the whole month of November. I love to celebrate the thankful, grateful, blessed. And I agree with you. I think one of the reasons why I love it so much is because it's a wonderful way to kind of like with Lent, how people celebrate Lent, and that leads you right into the celebration of Easter. I always celebrated Christmas the whole month of December. I always said my perfect job, my perfect career would be one where I can take the majority of December off and just focus on Christmas, focus on the meaning of Christmas, focus on Christ.
Yes.
But now, the older I get, I love taking the whole month of November and just filled with gratitude of all of the blessings that God has given, all of the joyful expectancy of what He's going to continue to do, not because of who I am, but because of who He is, then that leads into the whole month of Christmas, celebrating the true meaning, Christ's birth. And then, like you said, topping it off with the cherry on top with the fresh start in January of, okay, God, what do you have in store for me in the next year? So in this case, in 2023, but it'll be 2024, 2025, blah, blah, blah. So yes, so I have to say that like you, I love from November to January now. And yes, I still work every single day of those months, but there's just this, it just brings an excitement to life that wasn't there before, and I absolutely love it. And for me, Thanksgiving is not about the food anymore. It really isn't. It's not about stuffing myself or being stuffed or stuffing other people. It's really not about the food. It's about all of the other things instead. All of the just taking that opportunity to be thankful, grateful, and blessed. I love that saying, by the way. We have that all over our house because I love to be reminded to be thankful. I wear it around my neck every day. I just love to be thankful.
I know, and if you guys want to know more about, like Cheri was just mentioning, for her, Thanksgiving is no longer just about the focus on the food, and I'm assuming she meant like the preparation and everything that goes into it as well, and house on something, a little bit, something a lot more significant. And to get more information about that, you guys can read her devotional, What Life is Really About. It's in the Moments with Jesus series, and it's called What Life is Really About. So if you guys just, want to know more about a little bit of what she was talking about, then just, zoom over to Amazon after this podcast and, zoom over to Amazon when this is done, and you can get that series with her. This is our 4th week in November, 4th Wednesday, 4th episode of It's a Lot. Okay, and this would be the episode It's a Lot Part 4. To listen to episodes It's a Lot Parts 1, 2, and 3. Those will be the first 3 Wednesdays in November, which we've already covered those. And we talked about stress, different ways of handling it, having like a godly gratitude and thankfulness towards very difficult, different situations and everything else. And speaking of, difficult situations and it being Thanksgiving Eve, this particular podcast is going to be how to deal with difficult situations that may actually happen around the holidays. So, but if you want to listen to the previous 3 episodes, again, that your podcast is on every major podcasting platform. You can even tell Alexa, hey, Alexa, play the latest episodes of the Cheer Up podcast. So you can even do it that way. And again, we are on social media platforms as well, such as Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. But oh, my goodness, Cheri, Thanksgiving can either bring joy to a lot of people or a little bit of stress, right? Because that's been the main focus of this podcast this month is stress. It's a lot, and how to handle certain particular situations, especially as believers. And Thanksgiving can be stressful in a good way, right? It could be, I'm hosting my family and extended family, and I'm having 20 people over, and oh my goodness, I want them to have such an amazing meal and great time at the same time. And how do I do that? I got to clean the house. I got to get this done. I got to make sure I pick that particular thing. I got to make sure I get these pies done. So none of those are bad things, right? They can be good things. It's that good kind of stress. And then also, though, it could be, I don't want to go to my aunt's house tomorrow. I don't want to go to my mom's house tomorrow because I know my sister's going to be there, my brother's going to be there, my uncle, cousin, niece, nephew, who I've had issues with in the past, and of course they're going to be there, and we haven't spoken in almost a year, and I don't want to do it. I don't want to go there, and I don't want them to say anything to me because I'm still upset about what happened 8 months ago. So it could be either way. Am I right, Cheri?
Oh, absolutely. And I don't think we can live in this world without having difficult relationships in some area of our life. Like, it's just part of the sinful culture. And one of the things that I look forward to, or that I anticipate, is that when we get to heaven, the difficulties that we have in the different relationships that we're in will disappear. And from a human perspective, I think about that and I'm like, oh my gosh, really? So like what drove me nuts about Uncle Freddie won't drive me nuts anymore? Or the quirk that I have that Aunt Tina thinks is ridiculous, like she won't think that anymore. So from a human perspective, I can't really grasp it completely, but from a heavenly perspective, I just trust God that, oh my gosh, we're going to have amazing relationships with all these people. But until then, we still have to live on live on the earth. We still have holidays. We still have ways that we need to honor and respect our family and our friends. And how are we going to do that? Because whether or not we have the right intentions and we want to honor and respect, there are still feelings and emotions and stress that gets in the way. And I don't know about you, but when I get stressed, ugly comes out sometimes. I don't want it to, but it does. And so we still have to deal with that.
I know. And even when I'm trying to hide it, right? Because I'm like, I'm just going to put on how they say, put on a good face, for the situation or something like that. And in my case, it doesn't even, like, if I'm upset with someone and I go to a friend gathering, family gathering, or any type of, fellowship gathering or church or whatever, and if I'm upset with someone, they usually know it because my face tells it.
How are we not biological sisters, Kara?
Yeah, I know, right?
The same thing is with me. Same.
I am just like, my grandmother pointed that out years ago, and I'm like, I'm trying not to. Well, it's not working, And it's like my face says it, and because I'm not one of those. And what needs to happen usually when I'm upset with someone, it's an easy fix. We could just have a 5-minute conversation. It won't even take that long, honestly. But it's you know what I'm saying? Unless we've already had that conversation and it just did not go well, right? Or something like that. But it's very, very hard, and sometimes and it's super hard when it's family. And you have Thanksgiving and Christmas, and you just had that falling out with your cousin, and it was a doozy, and she's going to be there, and she's not one that's just going to enjoy the family time without bringing up that she's going to be snarky, she's going to go low, she's going to try to hit beneath the belt, that she's going to say something to try to get you to react, and so you're just like, you're stressed, right? Because you're going, Lord, I don't want to go. Lord, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go. I don't want to do this. I don't even want to see her, And, and like Cheri and I discussed in the very first podcast of It's a Lie, part 1, is that it's all about changing our perspective. And if you know that, Cousin Sally is there, and that she's going to be there, and she has that personality to where she's going to say something that normally gets you really, really riled up, it's about changing our perspective and saying, Lord, I am going to enjoy this. She's the only person there that I'm having contention with right now, and I tried to resolve it. It didn't quite go that way, but everyone else there, the other 19 people there, I absolutely love, absolutely adore. Some of them I haven't seen all year, and I am just going to enjoy myself. I am going to go there. I'm going to have a happy attitude. I'm going to enjoy those who enjoy me. I'm going to enjoy the food that my mom and grandmother prepared, because I know they put a lot of love into it, and I am just going to enjoy my day, and no matter what Cousin Sally says, I'm not going to engage. I'm not going to let it get to me. I'm just not going to go there, Lord, because this is a day to be thankful, and too many of my loved ones have put in so much hard work for this day to go sour. And I know a lot of people are saying, Kara, it's not that easy. Oh, trust me, I know. But changing your perspective is key, isn't it, Cheri?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm going to take what you said, which is such huge, wonderful wisdom in healthy relationships. I'm going to take it to the other end of the spectrum. I'm going to take it to the unhealthy relationships. I'm going to talk to the people for a couple minutes who are listening to this and saying, but you don't know. I have a narcissist in the family. I have someone who has hurt me physically, emotionally, mentally. I have someone who possibly gets drunk every time we get together as a family, and they get violent. Things like that. I'm going to talk to that person for a second because, actually I'm going to talk to both people first, and then I'm going to branch it off to the people dealing with unhealthy relationships or dysfunctional families, like severely dysfunctional families. So first and foremost, when you said, Kara, I think it was so key how you said that you try so hard to be nice and you try so hard to be loving, but your face gives it away. And I'm the same way. Like, seriously, we are biological sisters in that regard.
Yes, but our spiritual DNA is the same.
Exactly. And the way to solve that problem, I have found for me, is that I have to get quiet with God first, and I have to pour it all out to him and say, okay, God, in my strength, I'm going to give the stink eye, and I don't want to. In my strength, I'm not going to be able to be nice to so-and-so. I'm not going to be able to show your love to so-and-so. And I usually like to take it a step further and say, God, show me those people, show me whoever through your eyes. Let me see them through your eyes. Give me your love for that person today, tomorrow, the next week, whatever. Because most of the time, the majority of people are dealing with healthy, just normal living relationships. And they're all dysfunctional to an extent, but they're not unhealthy dysfunctional. They're not detrimentally dysfunctional. They're just, we live in a sinful world dysfunctional. And so to me, that is the best way to handle that. To the people who deal with unhealthy, like seriously unhealthy relationships, the ones where boundaries need to be put in place, again, the same encouragement I give to you. Take it to God first and foremost. Although I don't recommend waiting until tomorrow morning to take it to God. We should take it to God way beforehand, months beforehand.
Yes.
And say, okay, God, what?
Yes.
Because if you wait till tomorrow morning, he can still answer. God can do anything. But I think that you'll have a better mindset and you'll have a better plan if you give it to him months in advance and say, God, this is what I'm dealing with. Number one, show me in my own life the dysfunction that I am giving across, the ways that I need to change my attitude, my perspective, my tone, my voice, my message, my whatever. So change me first and foremost. And then God, if this truly is an unhealthy relationship that you do not want me to continue to put myself in to where I am stressed out physically, I'm stressed out mentally, it's detrimental to my mental, physical, spiritual health, then show me what boundaries you want me to put in place so that I can be protected. Not to be mean, not to punish, not to, hold it over anybody else's head, but show me what I need to do to be healthy myself so that I can then in turn use the boundaries that are needed to keep a healthy relationship while still respecting, honoring, loving those that you have put in my bloodline, put in my friend line, put in my church spiritual bloodline. So I think that when we do it that way and when we approach it that way, then we get that unwavering peace because just like I do, Kara, that our family relatives, if we put a boundary up to protect ourselves, to protect others, to whatever it is that we need to do, as well as I do that Harry and Naomi and Beatrice are going to have their opinions. They're going to be like, what do you think you're doing? Why are you not showing up? We only stay until now. You got to leave here. What? You're ruining the whole family tradition. No, I'm keeping myself sane. I'm doing what God asked me to do. And he'll give you that peace to follow through on what he wants. Because that's the cool thing about it. That's the cool thing about God is he loves us as much as he loves the other person that we have an issue with. He loves them as much as he loves us. And he wants the best for both of us. So maybe the best for both of us is not to spend 2 whole days or 3 whole days together. Maybe the best is a couple hours. I love you. This is a fantastic meal. Thank you so much for having me. Now I need to leave. You never know. And it's so different and so personal and individual for every person. So what God says to me, you can't piggyback on and say, oh, okay, so God told Cheri that she can only stay for 3.2 hours and then she needs to leave. Well, that's what I'm doing because, that's got it. No. Talk to God yourself. He might say you need to stay for 4.2 hours. He might say you don't need to go at all. I don't know. So that's the person that I wanted to talk to right then. But what do you think, Kara?
Oh, absolutely. And there may be some cases where you may not feel a peace about going. And I think one of the key statements that Cheri mentioned was, don't, if at all possible, don't wait till the last minute. Now, we always know there's last minute invites, right? You were thinking, oh, I'm looking forward to a quiet Thanksgiving and everything's going to be good. And I'm so glad that, my aunt didn't call me, or she's not having it this year. And, because, now I don't have to see Cousin Sally, and then all of a sudden, the day before, 2 days before, they're like, oh, wait, you're coming, right? We decided to do it after all. You're like, what? And when because there's always going to be those last minute invitations where you just like, God, what do I do? But if it's at all possible, pray ahead of time. Pray months. Whenever you accept the invitation or whenever you're preparing to get ready for, if you're hosting it at your home and, and everything else, and just prepare ahead of time. And even prepare about the potential situations that may occur. And just using the scenario earlier when I was just saying, you're going to enjoy it anyway, and you're just not going to engage. I'm just not going to engage with Cousin Sally, who's fictional, by the way. I don't want people to think I have a Cousin Sally that I'm not talking to right now, but I'm just using it as an example. But, and you're like, Lord, not only is it, I'm going to change my perspective to enjoy this day and rejoice in the day that you have made. And I know Cousin Sally's going to be there. I'm just not going to let what she say get to me. Help me with that, Lord. But also, I know Aunt Beatrice is going to see that me and Cousin Sally aren't talking, and she's going to bring it out. And she's like, no, we're going to fix this, because she's the fixer in the family. Right? And, Aunt Beatrice is going to be, no, Carol, you got to talk to Cousin Sally, and Cousin Sally, you need to talk to her. We're family. We shouldn't have these issues. You guys need to talk it out. And you may not be mentally and emotionally ready to do that. Right? And so pray months ahead of time and be like, Lord, please, touch Aunt Beatrice's heart or mind or spirit or something, or please don't ask us to make up, because emotionally we're not there yet. She's not there. Cousin Sally's not there. I'm not there. There's been a lot of things said that we're still kind of process now, probably still working through forgiveness, and everything else. And so give me the words, Lord, when Thanksgiving come around, to just quietly ask, Aunt Beatrice to not do that at this time. So even the little bitty details of, an event, you can just take to God in prayer ahead of time. And that gives you such a peace going into the whole situation, into the whole environment, instead of, I heard someone say, someone so nervous about a family gathering that they were actually throwing up on their way there, to the thing, because they were just so nervous about, the reactions and what was going to happen and what was going to be said, and everything else. That's stress. When you get to the point to where you're throwing up, you're ill, and, as you're making your way to an event and your mind is racing with what are they going to say, what are they going to think, who's going to say what, how am I going to respond, and everything else, that's probably a sign that your body is saying you don't need to be there. Because if it's that much stress to where your body is sick, you need to start praying and going, Lord, do I need to go here? Or is this a mountain I need to climb over? And things like that. But again, it's so personal, like Cheri said. You have just got to talk with God, because each of us respond to things differently, right? I may not be upset physically ill. Well, you know what? I take that back. I have been in situations to where I've been on my way to something, or I heard a certain person's name or something was going to be there. My stomach just wants to make me, like hurl, and things like that. So maybe I'm just not realizing this. Maybe I am one of those people. I've never actually had to do that. I've never had to help, have go to the bathroom several times, before the event or anything like that. But that's the kind of stress that I don't think that that our bodies are telling us, you're not ready for this conversation. You're not ready for this event. You're not ready for this family gathering. Just, and God, you can say, God, how do I help this? Or do you want me to go? Is there a blessing on the other side of this? Lord, I need your help. And you can do that months in advance. But and just like, Lord, I'm sick. I am like physically sick every time I think about it. Bring that to the Lord and be like, why am I so sick? Lord, give me wisdom. What am I upset about? What is the underlying emotion, the strongest emotion that I'm upset about right now? Have you ever been to or anticipated a gathering, Cheri, to where your body physically responded before you even went?
Yes, and I've done that. My body responds physically a lot. But one thing that really comes to mind, an example that comes to mind is, so we had the miscarriage in 2006, and we lost the baby right before Christmas. So the following year is the year that my husband got really sick. I've talked about that on the podcast before. Well, 2007, that year was just a really, really hard year for me. I was dealing still with the grief of losing the baby. I knew that the 1-year anniversary was coming up, and that was really hard for me. I had allowed myself to grieve for the first time in my life, like really feel all of the emotions, because I wanted to fully grieve. I wanted to fully go through the grief process so I could heal correctly and not stuff it down and ignore it. And so that 2007, that Thanksgiving, I reached out to my family, because at that point we had a tradition every Thanksgiving weekend. We celebrated for 5 days, starting Wednesday through Sunday. We had something going the whole time. It was something we all looked forward to. And I remember reaching out to my family and saying, we're choosing to stay home this year. And they didn't take it very well, because I think that they took it personally. Like, I think that they thought that we were rejecting them, and it had nothing to do with rejecting anybody. It was taking care of myself. It was physically, mentally, emotionally. I could not face celebrating. I was still grieving. I was in that grieving period, that grieving season, and celebrating was the last thing on my mind. And so I want to speak to those people today. I want to speak to the ones that are hosting Thanksgiving. If you have a family member or a friend that you've invited over, and at the last minute, and for me, it wasn't the last minute. I told them well in advance, but it very well could have been that day that I said, nope, sorry, we can't come. Grace. We need to extend grace, because 9 times out of 10, the quote unquote rejection or the canceling the invitation has nothing to do with you and everything to do with the person that does the canceling. 9 times out of 10, that person needs to step back. That person needs to heal. That person needs to de-stress. And even if it's a fun celebratory day, sometimes people just can't celebrate. And they don't want to come and be Debbie Downer or they don't want to come and be lectured. You need to smile more. You need to be happy. You have so much to be grateful for. Yeah, I know I do. And tomorrow I might realize that. Or next week I might be at that place. But right now I'm not seeing that. I'm not feeling that. And you know what? God's okay with that, because God told me that he's right here with me as I'm sobbing my eyes out. I don't need to sob in front of you. I want to sob in the comfort of my own home. And we need to give grace for people who are able and healthy enough to realize that about themselves, instead of stuffing it down and having it come out in physical, medical problems down the road.
Or a rant at the dinner table.
Oh my gosh, yes. I didn't even think about that.
And, all someone's got to say is, oh, why aren't you smiling? Today's Thanksgiving. And, sometimes that's all it takes. And then you're just like off at the races with a whole rant about everything. And it has nothing to do with the people there.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the people there. It was because you just were not prepared for this gathering. You were not healthy enough. And I'm when I say healthy, I mean either mentally, physically, spiritually, or emotionally healthy enough to attend that gathering at that time. And what happens is when someone just says something to you that you normally wouldn't take offense at, you probably would laugh at, you all of a sudden take it as something, and then you're off to the races with saying negative things to everyone, And usually what happens, you're thinking to yourself, I shouldn't have come.
Yep.
I shouldn't have come. Something told me not to come, and you know what? I shouldn't have come. So yes, you're absolutely right, and we do have to extend grace to those people who call off, because it does have something to do with them. And I think that's why a lot of people, especially around Thanksgiving and Christmas, they drink before they come.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're like, the only way I'm going to be able to deal with this, I know I shouldn't go, but if I do go, I know the only way I'm going to be able to deal with these particular people and this particular person that's going to be there is if I drink a little before I get there, And if you have to get inebriated before you go to an event, that's probably another sign that you're not healthy enough. Again, mentally, physically, spiritually, or emotionally healthy enough to be able to attend that gathering.
Exactly. So I hope that we have encouraged people today instead of discouraged them. In all honesty, grace, lots and lots and lots of grace is needed at every holiday gathering, every Thanksgiving, Christmas, every celebration. Grace is needed because, there's a saying that's going around Facebook, Kara, and I know I will not get it right, but it's something about the line or something along the lines of, you have no idea what another person is going through, so just be kind. I think that as we head into Thanksgiving tomorrow and then Christmas in a month and New Year's and then the New Year, because there's a lot of times people have, at least where I live, it gets really dark and depressing in the wintertime. There's not a lot of sun, so people get that seasonal depressive disorder. But we never really know what people are going through. So think the best of your relatives, think the best, extend a lot of grace, not only for them, but also for you. And extending grace to yourself means it's okay if I have to cancel at the last minute and not go. It's okay. But always, 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 as Kara and I both said, make sure that you spend time with God ahead of time, because He will give us the wisdom when we ask to know if we should go, if we shouldn't go, how long we should stay, what we should do when we're there, if we should avoid Cousin Sally, or if we should, try to ask for forgiveness and mend the fences. Really, I mean, when you think about it, Kara, I know I'm kind of going off in a different direction, but I think it's a really good way to wrap it up. Isn't the Christian life exciting? Because when we lay it all out to God, we really have no idea what answer He's going to give us, because it is so personal. One year, He might say, I give you the free pass, stay home. Another year, He might say, nope, put on your big girl pants. You got to go live in peace as much as is possible with you, with Cousin Sally. Another year, He might say, okay, you can go, but Aunt Sally's not going to be there, and it'll be okay. I mean,
yeah.
When we give it over to Him, when we give raw, genuine, authentic selves over to God, it's never going to be the same. And I think that also excites me as much or more than just waking up every day and saying, okay, God, today is your day. It's all yours. What do you want to do with me today? What do you want me to do today? How can I bless somebody else today? How are you going to heal me today? What's on our agenda, Lord, for today?
And you know what? That is so true. And also remember, because while we're extending grace and while we're extending mercy to other family members, and you guys are, you're probably like, oh, that sounds like a lot of work, and everything else. While you're doing that, continue to pray the whole time while you're there, and also extend joy to yourself, because you give yourself enough grace to have joy during the time, because you actually want to go and you want to be able to enjoy yourself and you want to be able to enjoy the event. And we extend joy to ourselves and grace and mercy to ourselves and to others as well. And just being thankful for the people that God has placed in our bloodline, and in our friend line, and just taking that time to just, say, God, you know what? I'm so glad you love dysfunctional people because they're in my family, but you know what? They were also in the Bible. So I think you have a special love for dysfunctional people, and just give me the peace tomorrow that passes all understanding and a joy unspeakable, and let me somehow, that my presence somehow glorify you or bring people closer to you. And I don't know, Cheri, what do you think? Isn't that just kind of a good way to go into when you're going into maybe a potential tenuous situation?
I think that you just summed up today perfectly. I say to that, amen and amen. Like that is the heart and the soul behind being a Christ follower. It's not about us, but even when it's not about us, God still takes care of us. And it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to need a timeout. It's okay to set boundaries. It's not just okay, it's healthy. I think that at some point we should have a future series about Jesus when he walked on this earth, because he was not some meek and mild pansy. Oh, I don't even want to think about the word pansy and Jesus in the same sentence, but he was not that at all. He was bold. He was courageous. He spoke the truth, but he spoke it in love. Everything he did was in love. So if you have to say, I'm sorry, I can't come tomorrow, ask God to help you do it in love. If you're coming tomorrow and you need extra grace with Cousin Sally, ask God for that grace in love. Love trumps it all every time.
Yes.
But it's true, genuine, authentic love, not fake, pasted on your face. I still can't stand you, love. And you can only have that when you immerse yourself in God, when you ask him for his strength, because none of us can do it in our own. And that brings us into next week, Tara. We're going to be talking about pure gratitude when we're having good stress. Good stress are those things that are still stressful, but they're blessings in our lives. And how do we take care of that? How do we live in a way that honors God while we're dealing with good stress? And good stress also is planning for Christmas. And next week we'll be starting to plan, although I think you always start planning for Christmas long before then. And by next week, our house will be completely decorated for Christmas, but you know what I'm saying. So, if you need prayer, if you want encouragement, if you just want to share your heart with us and have us pray with you, head on over to cheeruppodcast@gmail.com, and we would love to do that with you. Also, join our community at Cheer Up Podcast on our Facebook group, and head over to Kara's website. Now is a great time to buy Christmas presents for all of your friends and family. And you know what? Tomorrow, you can ask some of your family members if they like Christian fiction and kind of figure out which books they'll want you to buy for them. You can head over to my website, SheriSwalwell.com, and there's lots of books to choose from there. You can choose from devotionals if you want to dig deeper into your relationship with God. There are fiction, my fiction series, the Redemption of Green Pine series. All 5 books are out. Book 6 is coming soon. Don't give up on me. It's a little slower than what I had hoped, but it's still coming. And so if you like fiction with a biblical message, go that route. If you like to dig deeper with devotionals that aren't so deep that you get lost in the shuffle or lost in the murk, head on over and check out the different devotional series. And as far as the parenting series goes, it's not me telling you how to parent by any means. It's me coming alongside you as a parent, offering encouragement and inspiration, because nobody gets it exactly right. There's no one size fits all. We're just in it together. So I have had so much fun, Kara. This has been the best way for me to start my Thanksgiving Eve. I'm excited about this weekend and all that we're going to do. I hope you're excited as well. And we will be back next week to talk about good stress and what do we do with that.